Okay guys, welcome to the very final part of a series that I started quite a long time ago. Now this is taking a while for me to make the final part. I'm looking at arcade conversions on the C64 of the real kind of early games. You know, the games that came out in the early 80s. You know, just because back then there was, in most cases, there was very few official conversions. It was usually some wee sort of bootleg version where they changed the name slightly, and in some cases they didn't even bother changing the name because it didn't appear that copyright sort of infringement was really clamped down on back in the day. But anyway, kicking things off, we have the mighty Tapper. I never realised just how actual pretty the graphics are in the arcade one. They're super detailed. It's a great game to play. Now I've never played the arcade, I mean this is obviously the arcade version using MAME, but I've never played an actual arcade cab. I believe it's actually got a what do you call it? A thing for pulling a pint, you know. It's a real dedicated bit of hardware. It looks amazing. The idea of this game obviously is to serve the customers, keep them happy and not spill any beer. Now in many cases when they get a pint, they will leave the pub, and once all the customers have left the pub you go into a wee kind of bonus round which you'll see in a second. Now the idea is you have to try and identify the one that's not been shaken. Now it's not very easy. They move that quick, so unless you're able to not blink, in most cases with me it's complete luck. So I got the wrong one. Now each level changes slightly, they're different. This one's kind of sports related. You can see American footballers, you can see basketball players. Is that a tennis player? I think it is, yep. Baseball as well. I mean the graphics are just beautiful for this, I realise. Really nice looking. And sometimes they'll leave a tip, you'll see money left, and the only way to get that is to actually run along and pick it up. But obviously when you're doing that you're running the risk of dropping stuff. Now when you get the cheerleaders coming on, some customers will stop to watch, so you need to be very careful you don't throw a pint when the customer's not ready to catch it. Now this is the version I remember. This is the C64 one. Now this was an official license. I mean I always thought the graphics for this one looked good, and they're pretty detailed looking. Quite blocky obviously, they could have probably done a higher res, but you know, compared to the arcade, you know, when you've seen the arcade one you realise they're not as good as they probably could have been, but it plays really well and that's the important thing. I mean it's quite a simple game to play, but it's difficult and it's really addictive as well. And what you'll sometimes get is you'll get 3 or 4 glasses coming along the bar, you know, at the same time, and you've got to try and judge. It's like the old Game & Watch things on Nintendo. You've got to sort of judge to see what one's going to hit the ground first and make sure you get it. You can see there, the bottom bar, because of the perspective, the bottom bar is actually like longer than the top, and I don't know, do the glasses move slower along the top? I'm not quite sure actually. Let's see if we're going to get a glass coming along, because if it moved slower then that would account for the sort of the change in perspective, but I don't know if they've actually factored that in. Again, this is the same Mountain Dew. The funny thing is I'd never ever heard of Mountain Dew before, but obviously it's popular with geeks and video gamers, and it's extremely bad for you because it's full of sugar, so don't drink it, kids. Now this one was always easier because they moved a lot slower. I've just noticed this differs from the arcade one. In the arcade it was sports related. This one, I'm trying to figure out actually what they were actually looked like lumberjacks. Anyway, sorry, that was Tapper. This is Tempest. This was a game I never had any interest in playing. I mean, until I actually saw the arcade game, you know, it was a game that I just wasn't interested in at all. But when you've actually played the arcade one, you realise just what a gorgeous looking game it is. I mean, it's got vector graphics, and they're just, you know, beautiful colours. I mean, playing it on MAME is just not as good. I mean, it looks pretty good, but nothing can actually touch a proper vector display. And it's the same for stuff like, you know, Asteroids, Battlezone, all these games. You've really got to play them in the proper vector hardware to really appreciate them. That's why you get different Vectrex emulators, but they just don't look a patch on the original. You don't get that kind of glowing phosphorus kind of burn effect that you get on the original proper vector hardware. Got to shoot the little green stems that come up, little spikes. I'm using a gamepad and it's just wrong. You need the spinner. The spinner was the original. That was the original controller. Now this was the nearest I could actually find to Tempest on the C64. This is called Asan. I think it was released by Activision, and it's kind of based on Tempest. I remember seeing pictures of this in Zap and really had no idea what it was about, and I think it got quite bad reviews. But I've got to say, it's actually not bad. This game actually reminds me more of Space Giraffe, the Jeff Minter game, which came out in the Xbox 360. You move along the grid, and you've got to shoot these sort of red little, I don't know what they're called, red baddies that come towards you. Try and clear a path. You've got this large spider thing at the top, which drops more. So once you clear a space, I think your ship can then get to the top of the screen. The C64, it's not got the graphical resolution really required to pull a proper Tempest off, and that's probably why we've never seen any. But again, saying that, when you know when 8-bit computers came out, people weren't wanting to play games like Tempest. They wanted to play, I don't know, they wanted to play more modern games, but it was interesting that there's versions of most classic games on 8-bits, but for whatever reason, I'm not aware of any Tempest clones. Possibly in the Spectrum, I'm not too sure, but this was certainly the sort of closest I could find on the Commodore. But I've definitely grown to like Tempest. I've got it in quite a few different machines. Got it in the Jaguar, Tempest 2000. I've got probably, in my opinion, the best version of Tempest, and that's TXK. I've got that on my PS Vita. That's just an absolutely sublime version. But once you get the game, you know, when you get the idea of the game, it's a lovely, lovely game. So I think this is about the closest you're really going to get Tempest wise on the C64. Kinda reminds me of Beam Rider a wee bit, a similar kind of game, again by Activision. Move along a grid and just blast stuff. But I quite like the look of it. The visual looks actually pretty good. Looks like when the spider appears, he just drops lots and lots of these things. So that was Axis Assassin. This one is one of my favourite games. This is Terra Cresta. Again, this is the arcade one we're looking at. This is a mighty fine shoot 'em up, make no mistake. Don't know what it is I like about it. I've never really been able to define why I like it. I like the graphics. I like the fact that you've got a lot of different things. You've got, like, you know, walking dinosaurs. You know, the graphics are changing all the time. Some really nice graphics. You've also got the ace kind of power-up system. You know, you've got to shoot the numbers and then you get a power-up. I think you can get up to 5 power-ups, which can, you know, give you awesome firepower. And if you waggle a joystick, it opens up. Or in the case of the arcade, you press a button, it opens up into a sort of huge, big firing thing. And the great thing is, as well, is when you lose, if you've got more than one power-up and you get hit, you just lose that power-up. You don't actually die. So it means that as long as you've always got one power-up, you're always going to keep surviving. So it's, I wouldn't say it's an easy game, but it's easier than some of the shoot 'em ups you can get. Music as well, it's fantastic. I was lucky enough to actually play the arcade version of this down at Arcade Club in Bury, I think it was, Blackburn, I can't remember where it was. It was before it moved to its new home just outside Manchester, I think it is. There you go, that's when you've got the split firing mode. The only thing is you need to be very careful, it's ×3 to try and avoid. It's just got a bit of everything in this game, that's why I like it so much. Cover up number 5. Obviously I've only got 2 of them there, but you know, no, I'm not talking about 4 of them actually, yeah. You get a weird firing as well. Kind of feels a bit like Xavius. I always just felt like Xavius was just too damn difficult. Having to independent fire, I'm not a big fan of games. You've got to shoot bombs and you've also got to shoot missiles. I prefer just pressing one fire button to do a lot. Okay, right, this is the arcade one. Arcade one? This, sorry, I'll start again. This is the Commodore 64 one. Now, I did buy this. It was on one of these big cassette boxes. I wasn't a massive fan of it. I just felt it was just that bit too difficult. I think what doesn't help the C64 for shoot 'em ups, as good as the hardware is for moving stuff about and having the silky smooth scrolling, the screen ratio of the C64 doesn't lend itself well at all, because you can see here the screen is very wide but very short, you know, it's not particularly high, so you don't really get much a chance to see what's coming. The arcade one is obviously, it's a vertical landscape, sorry, vertical orientation, which is what a shoot 'em up should be. So you tend to find when they ported games to the Spectrum and Amstrad, they used to make it vertical. They would have big borders either side, so that the aspect ratio was correct. But the C64 always seemed to just go for full screen. So I don't really see this as being a version of Terra Cresta. It doesn't really play much like the original, the arcade one. Yeah, it's got similar looking sort of, you know, missile launcher bases. And even the start of the game, I mean, in the Commodore 64 one, you launch out what looks like you launch out this little thing over the sea, which wasn't in the arcade one. So yeah, it's a bit of a sort of missed opportunity, I think. Yeah, you can see there you start off over the sea. Don't know why they put that in. Thing is, a lot of times companies that made arcade games, they'd never actually had access to the code of the arcade game. Sometimes, if they were lucky, the company would bring in an arcade machine and they would literally, the programmers would just play it and either maybe take photographs or in most cases just try and knock the game together from memory. See, these baddies there, they weren't in an arcade one, so it's not very faithful at all. So, you know, you can understand why games weren't always 100% accurate, because, you know, they didn't have access to the graphics or anything. Music's quite nice, and to be fair, as a standalone shooter it actually plays okay, but being a big fan of Terra Cresta, I wouldn't say that this is a particularly good conversion of the game. It's a nice shooter in its own right, but it's not Terra Cresta. The layout as well is completely different, so it's really, I would say it was almost Terra Cresta in name only. At least it's got a little dinosaur thing, so yeah, that's Terra Cresta. That's the Terra Cresta on the C64. It's not bad. Right, moving on. Time Pilot, released in 1982 by Konami. This is a Stonewall classic. Love this game to bits. It's fun to play, it's not too difficult. Once the controls click, it's incredibly satisfying to manoeuvre your way out of danger. You think you're going to get hit with a bullet or run into bannies, and you're able just to twist the wee plane around and escape. The secret to this game for big points is pick up the wee guys in the parachutes. So I think their value goes up each one. He was worth 3,000 points. Oh, so you can just turn at the last second. I'm not sure how this game played in arcade. Was it a spinner? I'm guessing it probably would have been. But it actually plays really well, even using a gamepad, or you could probably use buttons for left and right. This is a fantastic wee game. I really enjoy this. So we walk to the next level, 1940. Now you'll see at the bottom, well, it doesn't look like it, but there's a, where the aeroplanes are slowly disappearing, that's like the time limit. Once that gets to the bottom, you get the large sort of mothership appear, and if you destroy that, you then move on to the next level. Ah! Don't know how I hit with that one, that was just a bit rubbish. Right, this is Space Pilot on the C64. Obviously they didn't want to call it Time Pilot. This was released by Analog Software. Now I owned this game. It might have been a pirate copy actually, but you know, that was what it was back in 1983. And this plays exceptionally well. It's a really playable little game. Now, surprisingly, one of the best conversions of Time Pilot that there is actually on the Vectrex. There was a guy who brought out, what was it called, Vector Pilot, and it's fantastic. It's an amazing little port, and it's got obviously the overlay for the Vectrex, so you know it adds colour and that kind of stuff. But it's a beautiful game, and it plays so well. It's just incredible what they can keep eking out these bits of, you know, classic hardware. You would never have thought a game like this possible back in whenever, 1979 or something, when it first came out. But yeah, this is an excellent version. I think there may be other versions of this from other companies, but this was the one that I played. So now we should see the big baddie, because we've now, the time is at 0 there, it's there, the big barrage balloon. So what I need to do is get behind that, shoot it up its bum, and move on to the next level. We'll now time warp to 1982, is it? Oh no, 1940, sorry, I'm thinking about, it was the arcade one we looked at earlier. On this one it's just, you see the time bar, so when that gets down to 0, you'll get the big baddie. It may not look the most exciting game in the world, but it's actually quite relaxing to play because it's quite sedate. It's not too difficult. You know, it's fairly easy to build up a decent score. I shouldn't be saying that. I should be saying it's rock hard and I'm just really good, but I would be telling a lie if I did that. Once you get the hang of the controls, it's really sublime. You just need to always keep a wee eye out for the little bullets that they do shoot occasionally. And then the next level is, I think it's 1982, and it's helicopters, and they have little missiles which will tail you, so you've got to try and outrun them, or then you can get far enough away from them, spin round and then shoot them. There we go, there's the big baddie, so we'll try and take that out. There we go, and then I think the next level would be 1970, so is that, yeah, 1970 is the helicopters, I think. Yeah, there you go, with the little missiles that chase you. You make this rather strange squeaky noise, I don't know why. Being a sprite-based machine, this game lends itself pretty well to the Commodore 64. I'm guessing these are all sprites, which probably made this game fairly straightforward to actually port. Whoa! Watch out for the bullet. Ah, balls. Anyway, that is a Space Pilot. Right, this is Space Pilot 2. Cunningly named. Wonder how long it took them to come up with that name. Now this is basically more of the same. Now I wasn't aware of being a Time Pilot 2, but obviously I'm guessing it must have sold fairly well, so they decided to release a second one. It's pretty much more of the same, but just as fun to play actually. Maybe slightly better graphics, possibly, would you say? I don't know. The graphics of the first one were absolutely fine. Again, it's the same thing, you've got to just keep shooting stuff. I don't know, you'll not get anyone in a parachute, I wouldn't have thought. Not in space. And you've got the little tiber at the bottom. So when that gets to the bottom, you'll meet some large mothership type thing. I'll not play this one for very long, just to really let you see what else was actually, what other versions of kind of Time Pilot there were for the C64. I like to be hand-drawn explosions. Yeah, for a simple game, it's just supremely playable, good fun. And then you go into a little type warp thing. Whoa! If you suffer from epilepsy, look away now. My goodness. Oh! Stage 2 and you've got a little Enterprise. Let's just take a look at that for a quick second. Yeah, anyway, that was Space Pilot 2. Right, moving on, Track and Field. Now, yeah, what can I say about Track and Field? It's one of my favourite games. I love it because it's physical. You've physically got to be good at pressing the button very, very fast. I love the competitive nature as well, you know, especially playing against another person. It's just, love it to bits. I would love to own an original machine, but you don't see that many of them. I go to a lot of these, you know, sort of big gaming conventions, and you very, very rarely see. I don't think I've ever actually seen a Track and Field machine, not for many, many moons, or many years, I should say. But I mean, I've got a friend, John Studley, who's, I mean, he's an amazing. He's had a perfect Pac-Man game. I've watched him play this game, and it's just ridiculous. He's got this way of pressing the buttons that he gets. You know, 100 meters, he'll do it in just under 8 seconds. It's just absolutely insane. The speed that he can build up. It's all technique. I always think I'm not bad at this game. I mean, the arcade one, I can usually get around if I'm able to get past the hammer, which is always my nemesis. I can usually get maybe 3 or 4 rounds all the way around. I don't know what my score is, maybe about 150,000, something like that. Because I think it does get to a certain difficulty and then it never gets any more difficult. And I think it's one of these games, if you were as good as John at it, you could probably just keep playing and playing and playing. So generally for world record attempts, I think you play all events once, and it's basically the highest score. That's not a bad high jump there by myself, actually. The secret to javelin: when it's in the air, keep tapping the fire button. So that is the arcade one. Now there are a multitude of sort of Track and Field clones on the C64. Now I did actually make a video of all of them maybe 6 months ago. So what I've done here is I've actually just copy and pasted that video into this video, but I've taken out the sound because obviously I was doing a commentary. I suppose technically I could have left it. Oops, it looks like my dog's just walked into the camera there. But yeah, this one here is obviously, this is the first one I ever got. This is Daley Thompson's Decathlon by Ocean Software. Now it's actually quite faithful in graphical terms to the arcade. You know, it does look, it's really, really bright graphics. It looks really, really nice. Obviously we're lacking, because I've taken out the sound, you're not getting any sound at all. So that was Daley Thompson's Decathlon. It was nice, but I never felt it played that well. You know, you could really mash the buttons and not get very far, and other times it would go quicker without mashing the buttons as quick. So it wasn't a particularly accurate game. This one here, this is Activision Decathlon. This was my go-to Decathlon game. It's really simple. I mean, the graphics for the running are awesome. The actual background graphics, they're very, very plain, as you'll see when I come to do the discus. You know, it's very basic looking. You would almost say it looks unfinished. But the thing for me was the actual playability was spot on. You know, what score you got was really reflected on how much effort you put into waggling that joystick. So this was the one that me and my mates played all the time. This is Daley Thompson's, it's not Super Test. There was a Daley Thompson's Super Test which was nothing like Track and Field. It was an Olympic Challenge, yeah, Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge. Now, the graphics in this are phenomenal. Look at the background graphics. A really, really, really nice game. But where it spoiled it for me is this bit. After each event, you've got to pick what shoes you're going to wear. Now, if you pick the wrong shoes, you will simply not qualify. You know, you'll run rubbish. So you've got to pick the right shoes, which to my mind was just stupid. Why involve picking shoes? I know why they've done it, because obviously they're getting sponsored by Adidas and also Lucozade, because you can buy Lucozade, which gives you a power boost. I'd preferred it if it not included these. It just kind of spoiled it. The actual game mechanics were excellent, but it annoyed me having these extra bits. This is track and field. This was the official track and field on the C64. Apologies about the quality of the graphics in this one. I mean, I was videoing the TV because I was actually playing my C64, so that's why it looks a bit washed out. It doesn't look that bad when you see it in the flesh. But yeah, this was never released in the UK. I was lucky enough to get a copy of it back in the day, and it's actually really good. It's probably too easy. I mean, I think there are difficulty levels. I used to always play it easy, so I could get some stupidly long throws and etc. I mean, 81 metres there. But yeah, really good, plenty to choose from. So right, moving on, this is Turbo. This was made by Sega. Now, apologies about how crappy I am at this, and it's because you need an analog controller. I'm using a gamepad, so as soon as I move left or right, the car just shoots all over the screen. It's the wrong controls for this game, but it hopefully gives you an idea of just what it's about. It's left and right. What's interesting is the way they've got the hill. They've kind of got the screen split in two, but it gives the impression of a hill, which is quite clever. I mean, it's an early game, but the actual, you know, the sprite scaling isn't that bad. You look at the trees, it moves quite well. But yeah, trying to play this with a digital joystick is just a no-no. It's completely unusable. What have you got at the top here? Cars passed. You've got to meet a certain quota, I'm guessing, to move on to the next level. Never ever played this, that was actually the first time I've played it. Interesting viewpoint. But this was one of the first sort of arcade racers that came out. Yeah, okay, that is Turbo. Now this next one, I've featured that picture because if that's not the most horrific tape cover, I don't know what is. Death Race. Look at these eyes. Yeah, Death Race. It was, you can see there, released in 1987 by Atlantis. Now what's interesting about this game is there's not really any movement as such. All they're doing is flicking between the colours. You know, even the buildings are just changing, they're just flashing different colours, and the road again is just flicking different colours. So, but it does give quite a good impression. Exactly the same as arcade. You know, you've got to hold it forwards and move left and right. Alright, let's stick my name in. Okay, let's go for another wee go. Now I think this might have been a budget game. It might have not, but I think Atlantis Software was all budget. I don't even know, did it say in the cassette inlay? It may have done, who knows. Now I think this is the only Turbo game for the C64. I've got a mate, Matt, who his knowledge of the C64 is second to none, and he tells me this is the only game that he can think of that's like Turbo, so I'm not going to argue with Matt. So anyway, yeah, that is Death Race. Right, this bad boy, this is it Tutankhamun? What do they actually call it? I think it's Tutankhamun, or is it Tutankhamun I think it's called. Never ever played it before. Again, it's one of these games that it's a very early arcade game. It's regarded as a classic. Now you can see here I was kind of struggling to play with it a wee bit. You move up and down. but you've got two fire buttons, one fires left, one fires right. I don't know why they couldn't have, you know, made it you fire in the direction you're actually moving. It's a bit strange. Let's go for one more go. Tutankhamun it's called, yeah. Is that to avoid any copyright with the great god himself, possibly? Or the great king, I should say. Wasn't that god? Was he? Was he a god? I'm not sure. He was a king, a young king. Maybe Tutankhamun was his brother or something. I'm not quite sure. Now this is the very first time I've ever played this game, so apologies for being rubbish. I assume you've got to try and steal treasure of some sort, avoid the baddies, and then exit the tomb. Ah, I've just noticed. I mean, what I'm doing, the way I play these videos now is I tend to record the gameplay, then I do the voiceover. I just noticed the wee map at the top actually. See the little diagram at the top, so it shows you where you need to. I assume you need to go to the bit at the bottom right where it's got the red shiny thing. Now I always get criticised for not actually making a point of learning how to play games, but that's just what I do, guys. When you're making videos like this, when you're playing about 30 different games, you simply don't have the time to invest and play, you know, get good at a game, so that's why I just play it straight from off. Right, this is Cuthbert in the Catacombs, which, now Cuthbert was a character that was it the dragon? Damstrad Cuthbert? I think it was a dragon, yeah, it was a dragon computer that came up with this thing called Cuthbert. And they basically had a series of games with the Cuthbert character. Now, rather interestingly, I noticed that this has obviously been ported in the C64. I thought it was dedicated just to the dragon, but obviously they're trying to irk more money from other micro users. Now, again, the idea of this game, I'm assuming, is to pick up keys. There's a key over there. How did I get the key? Why did it not let me pick the key up? Go in here. No, that's where the baddies come from. Oh dear, yep, quite. Is that some sort of transporter? Yeah, it is. Right, now, do I need to steal stuff? I'm assuming I do. Yeah, there didn't appear to be an official conversion of the game. So, I've got some unofficial ones like this. It says actually this one is quite a bit more playable. The thing about arcade games I always maintain is arcade games are not written to be fun. They are written to be fun, but they're written to be fun for a very short period of time. They're written with such a high difficulty level built in because they don't want people to be able to play them for very long. You know, they want you to get you to play and die and put more money in because they're just all about making money. So that's why sometimes arcade games aren't always the most playable because they're just, the difficulty level is right up there. Obviously arcade companies never accounted for people like John Studley who could play games for hours and hours and hours and hours on one £10. But this actually isn't that bad. It's quite a nice wee playable game. And it's a bit more sedate. And you can definitely see a bit easier what's actually happening. It's got all the hallmarks of an early C64 game with the music. It's funny how the early games had pretty dire music, but then obviously once Mr. Hubbard came along with his Monty on the Run and Thing in the Spring, everything changed. People suddenly realised what an amazing game, what an amazing sound chip the C64 had. Now this is called, what is this called? Is it Ladybug? Ladybug is it called, I think? Apologies if I've got the name wrong. Again, it's another unofficial C64 game. kinda similar, but you've got gates that you can change. But again, it's actually quite fun to play. I would say Cuthbert and the Coombs, or Catacombs, whatever it's called, is probably the more has more in common with Tutankhamun, but than this one. But this is still quite nice. Right, so I'm assuming I need to try and go up and steal that ring. I need to wait for the baddies to bugger off. And I get to the exit, I think. Come on, bugger off. Whoa. Easy boy, come on. You know what, I've just, like I said, I record the voiceover after I've done the gameplay. I've just noticed it says shots 45, so it looks like you could actually shoot. I never noticed that. And there's level 1 done. That's actually a really nice wee game. It's nice and playable. It would actually make a nice little handheld kind of Game Boy Advance type game. Oh, that was close. Some of these sound effects sound very familiar. I'm sure that one must have went on in the games industry, people stealing other people's graphics and sound. Ah, right, got to go and get that other key. I've got you. Yeah, that was Ladybug. Right, this is up and down. You control a little pink car at the bottom, and the idea being it's kind of like, now I see it, it kind of reminds me, well, I was going to say like Buggy Boy. It's really got nothing like Buggy Boy except it's got a buggy in it. You've got to collect flags. You see different coloured flags at the top. You've got to try and collect them while driving along little roads, and you can also, you need to avoid the baddies, other cars, but you can jump. Pressing fire button, you can jump, and if you time it right, you can land on top of them and destroy them. The one thing you need to be careful of is you don't over jump, because if you're going up to a sort of a turning in the road and you jump, you'll just keep going straight ahead and eventually die, as you'll see. I'll no doubt demonstrate shortly. But what you can do, if you time it right, you can actually jump over a road. Like you see that there, I didn't give it enough lick, hence the reason I crashed and burned. If I'd given it a bit more acceleration, I would have managed to get across the other side. Hey, like so. I mean, graphically it's quite nice. Again, I've never ever seen an arcade version of this, or an arcade, you know, cab of this. I always think there's games like this where, I don't know, would you want to play this game for hours and hours on end? Possibly not. But then I guess you could say that about any game. Right, this is up and down, and again this is actually this is an official conversion. You can see there by Sega. Now I did buy this, and I always thought it was really good. But it's funny how, you know, back then I didn't have access to the arcade version, so it doesn't quite look as good as it did in my eyes as it did back in, I don't know, 1983, 1984. But it plays just the same. And it's got the same Mii tune as well. Oh, you got a bit more acceleration to get up the hill. Like so. And they have kind of built-in gravity, so when you're going down the hill, you obviously go quicker. Oops. That was a certain death. Yeah, I wouldn't term this game a classic. I mean, it's a well-known game, but you know, I don't know. Fun for a very short period of time. What the hell was that? Obviously there's a bit of luck involved in what we actually go. I mean, you can't see where the flags are, so you've got to just sort of try and guess. They're possibly always in the same bit, so I guess if you're playing this game a lot, you may actually get to know where the flag placement is. I saw that coming. Yeah. Anyway, listen, that is Up and Down. Not a bad conversion of a not a particularly good arcade game in my opinion. Let's crack on. Right, the last game we're going to look at is Wizard of War. Now this is this is an early arcade game. I'm not quite sure who released it actually. It's an early arcade game, and it's a game that I don't know. I've never seen an arcade, and a lot of people probably had never ever heard of it. I mean, it's a really good fun game. It's like, you know, you're in a maze, you've got all these baddies to try and shoot, and then once you destroy, you know, one baddie, the next one gets harder and harder and harder. Some of them are invisible. You've got the wee radar at the bottom. It's got speech. It's got co-op. I mean, this is a computer that's also playing. I'm the yellow one. And what you can do is you can destroy the baddies, or you can shoot the other player. So it makes you know, multiplayer quite good fun. But it's an excellent game playing as 2-player. You try and shoot him before he escapes. It's got excellent sound. The sound is fantastic. It's kinda almost, is it the forefather to Gauntlet, would you say? Maybe? Who knows? But it's a forgotten classic. It's a game that's really good, and I said a lot of people probably never even heard of it. Unless you're a sort of an arcade nut like myself, and probably people that are watching this video, you know, people have heard of Pac-Man, Space Invaders. Have you heard of Wizard of War? No. So I never ever saw an arcade version of this. I mean, I don't know when it came out. It was a very, very early game. The sound, graphics, just an amazing, amazing game. It's a vastly underrated game in my opinion. Warrior, while you develop, I am develop. The speech does sound quite similar to the speech used in Gorf. Was it the same company that made it? I'm actually just thinking the font looks quite similar. Right, now this is the Commodore 64 one. Now, what a version. What a version. I did have this on cartridge for the Commodore 64. And, you know, along with everything else, I sold it. And it's an absolutely fantastic conversion. It really is. I mean, apart from the scrolling, the little sort of twinkling stars, it plays just as good. It looks almost just as good. Again, it's co-op, so you can have 2 players playing at once. Sound is almost arcade perfect. Me and a mate used to play this non-stop. It really is an awesome game. You know what, I'm talking absolute nonsense. I was saying this was the last game. This is not the last game. There's another one to come. That's only the worst bit of doing the voiceover after you've already recorded the gameplay. I will occasionally come out with some nuggets of nonsense. But again, it starts off fairly sedate, and then it does ramp up quite quickly. The early levels, they don't really shoot so much. I don't know if you could actually play this just as a single player. I think it always starts a 2-player game, but you know, it doesn't affect anything. You'll see there the second player's little player moves out, but he just gets killed anyway. But yeah, it's an amazing game to play with 2 people. You'll see there, that's not the graphics glitching. They do deliberately go invisible, and what you've got to do is look at the little radar and you try and shoot him before he exits the maze. You've got the wizard of war. Yeah, fantastic. Right, 2 to go. See, I thought it was 1 to go, but I think there's another one after this. This is Xavius. Now, I did touch on this game earlier on when I was playing Terra Cresta. I do have fond memories of playing this. I used to play this in the rugby club. They had this, and then I think it was replaced by Phoenix. I was never a big fan of it. We used to play it, but I just found it too damn difficult. It says the thing I didn't like about this game is the fact that you've got to sort of like, you've got the independent fire buttons, so you end up trying to concentrate and taking out the ground-based installations and forgetting to shoot other things. I suppose what you could do is just hammer both fire buttons. I think if I'd just had a single fire button, I would enjoy this one a lot more, I think. But I think it was one of the first games to have just a continual scrolling with different landscapes. I mean, I've never ever completed it. My mate actually got further than me. You get to the big massive mothership. I never got that far, and I've never really had the inclination to try and get to it. I mean, with things like MAME, you can put cheat modes on, so you can make yourself invulnerable. You could have whatever, infinite lives, but I've never really had any interest in doing that. Right, this is the C64 version, if you can't tell. Now, this kinda suffers from the same thing that I mentioned with Terra Cresta. The aspect ratio is just not ideal for a game like this. Now, I didn't even know that this version existed. I mean, I had my C64 at the time I was playing this in the arcade version, but I wasn't aware of a version for the C64. And I've got to say, although it's got the ratio is wrong, it does actually look, feel, and play quite like the arcade. It's actually not a bad conversion. It's even quite successfully sort of copied the sound effects. How is that working? I think you need to hold down the fire button or something to do the bombs. I mean, there were some good versions of this. I think the Atari ST had quite a good one. I remember getting it in that. I think is the NES possibly got one? I think I might have done an arcade perfect my arse for this game, so you can go check it out if you want to see more Xavius conversions. But like I said, it's a decent enough game, but I just I've not got the patience for it. I just find it a wee bit too difficult. Right, this is definitely the final game on this Gov. This is Zaxxon. Again, a very early game, 1982. I mean, 1982, that would be, well, Space Invaders came out, was it 78, 79, but this is an early game as far as arcade games go. And for its time, the graphics are just super impressive. I mean, even now you look at it, it plays and looks really nice. You know, you wouldn't really want to, you couldn't really improve the graphics for a game like this. So really impressive looking, and obviously it's got a sort of a pseudo 3D viewpoint, which did take a wee bit to kind of master, trying to kind of get your head around. You know what? In all the years that I've played Zaxxon, which isn't very much, I've never noticed that you actually had to destroy the fuel bunkers. I've just noticed I've got low fuel. Never noticed that before. That's really pretty. Right, now there's two versions of Zaxxon that I could find. This one is the Sega one. Now graphically it ticks all the boxes. It actually looks really, really nice. And the scrolling is pretty good. There's a slight hint of judder, but nothing too major. Never ever played this version. The one that we're going to look at shortly, that was the one that I actually bought. And in my mind it's probably the better of the two. Oops a daisy. That's never a good idea, running into walls like that. There's obviously the payoff between trying to shoot all the things on the ground and making sure you get through that little gap in the wall correctly. Now to try and shoot the enemy planes at this point, you've got to have the same altitude. You'll see there is you've got your height. I think once you're at the right height, you can then obviously destroy them. So if they're bigger than you, it means that you're underneath them, and vice versa. But all in all, that's not a bad version. It's not bad at all. Right, moving on to the last version, guys. This is the version by Synapse Software. This was the one that I used to play. It does differ slightly graphically, but I don't know, I like this one. I just prefer this one. It's just got a slightly better look to it. I mean, the scrolling's, if anything, probably, I actually always remember thinking this had silky smooth scrolling, but if anything, the scrolling on the other one is slightly better. But you know what, it's horses for courses. Both of these are really good versions. You know, you couldn't really complain if you got either of them for your Christmas. They're both pretty identical. Same again, you got to make sure that your height is at the right height to take out the baddies. Now, yeah, you didn't notice you heard a little beep there. Once you're at the right altitude, or the same altitude as the enemy planes, you do get a little noise, and I think you get a little X in the screen. But in most cases, you're probably just as well to try and avoid them. Just go underneath or above them. But what you can also do is just try and compare sizes. Once you look about the same size as them, then you know that you're going to be pretty much in line with them to destroy them. But for an early game, it's really pretty, really pretty. You know, when you looked at some of the early 8-bit games, graphically wise, were woeful. In a game like this, it looked the part. So anyway, listen guys, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this final part of my looking at early arcade conversions. I may do the same for the Spectrum at some point. But anyway, thank you very much for watching.